What's good, family? It's your boy Money Marco. How y'all doing today? I don't even know what I'm gonna talk about today, y'all. I just came on just to say what up. Let me ask y'all this. What do y'all think about spinning the block on your ex? And I'm not talking about the ex-wife. I'm not talking about the ex-wife. I'm talking about the ex before your ex-wife. Right? Let me tell a little story, man. Let me tell a little story. All right, so boom. Back in like 2013, right? I think it was around 2000. It might have been 2012, 2013, right? I was doing my other clothing line with my boys. You know, they rapped. You know, they was rappers. I was nice with the camera. You know, when it comes to photography and shooting and directing and editing, I taught myself all those things, right? So we were shooting a lot of videos. You know, we actually got a little buzz locally. You know, we was lit. You know, we had motion. You know, and you know we was making a lot of moves, man. I was real hungry at that time, so I was doing everything. I was designing the clothes. I was doing the photo shoots. I was doing the graphic works. I was doing the flyers. I was doing the videos. I was a one-man army, for real, for real. You know, I was helping them with the thing, you know, making sure we got to the studios and made sure the mixtapes was done, this, that, and the third. You know, we was throwing events too at the same time, throwing dope parties and all that. You know, it was fun though. You know, even though we was working, it was a lot of fun. You know, and during this particular time, um, you know, I was on them streets. You know what I mean? I was in the streets, meaning like, you know, with the women pretty much. You know what I mean? I just had ended it with my ex, my other ex, which was my baby mama. I just ended it with my baby mother, right? So, you know, I was single. So, you know, let me speed it up because it's a long story. So, you know, like I said, we was making moves. So my boy, one of my boys was shooting a music video. They had rented out the whole club for the night for their music video. And it was also a famous artist. His music video was featured with a famous artist, you know. And they rented out the club. They were shooting this video, you know. So I walk up in there. I'm getting mad love when I walk in. You know, like people surrounded me. Like it was like a circle around me. Everybody like, oh, what's up, money? What's up, money? Da 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 da. You know, everybody. You know what I mean? And little did I know somebody, you know, was over there in the corner peeping, like, you know, who that type thing. You know? So while we in this video shoot, I'm looking for the baddest thing in the club to bring home with me. You know what I mean? Or just bad. If I wasn't bringing her home, at least get the number or something, right? So I'm looking around. I saw this one joint. She looked all right, but she had too much makeup on. You know, I looked to the bar and my cousin is hollering at the baddest thing in the club. I'm like, dang. You know what I mean? So I walk over there and tell me why this dude is fronting, pretty much saying everything that he do is what I was literally doing. You know what I'm saying? He's like, yeah, you know, we got the clothing line, and you know, I do the clothing line, and I, you know, do the music, and I do photography. Everything I do, he was saying he did. You know, and then he was like, all right, girl, I'm gonna go get you a drink. You know, so as soon as he left to go get her a drink, she looks at me and says, so what do you do? And then I told her what I do, which is really what I do. You know, I was like, I do the photography. You know, I got the clothing line and da 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 da. She's like, oh really? She was like, you got a Facebook? I was like, yeah, I got a Facebook. You know, and I gave her my card, and I was like, my Facebook is on the card, right? And then she was like, all right, I gotta get, you know. My cousin came back with a drink. She took a sip of the drink and said, all right, gotta go to work, and left. You know, And she did have to go to work because she was the main model of the video. She was the main model in the video, you know? So boom. Before she got to the stage, my phone gets a notification, and there she is adding me on Facebook that fast. Before she even got to the stage, she added me on Facebook. You know, so we chop it up, boom, boom, boom. You know, I told her I got a photo shoot I got in mind that she'll be perfect for. You know, you want to shoot this photo shoot. We were shooting it at Union Station in DC and all that. So she was like, yeah, bet, you know, come school me, boom, boom, boom. So I came school, but we did the photo shoot. And I noticed on the way home, she kept on telling me, like, you know, she was like just telling me a lot about herself, like her sign, this, that, and third, you know what I mean? And I was like, you know, telling me what she liked to do and her goals and dreams and what she want to do with her life. And I'm like, yo, this is sounding like she's auditioning to be my girl or something. Like, this is sounding like a date right now. You know what I mean? But I didn't pay her too much attention. I just dropped her off and kept moving. Even though she's bad, you know, I know how to be professional and all that. So the way I was looking at it was she's just a model. I was just being professional. You know what I mean? I wasn't trying to smash because I'm used to beautiful women. I could work with beautiful women and nothing happen. You know, I'm not thirsty like a lot of you know, dudes who don't be getting women be like, you know what I mean? So drop her off at home, you know, I edit the photo shoot, put the photo shoot out. She shares the photo shoot and says, you know, shouted us out, you know, and she inboxes me, you know, just talking to me like, oh, thanks for the photo shoot, da 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 da. As we're, you know, chatting on Facebook inbox and all that, my baby moms walk in to pick up my daughter, and she was like, oh, who you talking to? And I was like, just, you know, this model, da da da. You know, we just did a photo shoot. And she was looking at it. She's like, oh, she's cute. I was like, yeah, she's straight. You know, she's bad. Yeah, she definitely bad. You know, and then she was like, she likes you too. I was like, what are you talking about? She was like, I could tell she likes you. I was like, huh. I already had the vibe that she liked me too and all that. And then she was like, you know, money. I'm a woman. I know, you know, what it looks like when you like somebody. So she definitely likes you. I was like, yeah. I was like, yeah, you right. I think she does. Like, you know. So as soon as my baby moms left, I said, hey, yo, you know what you doing this weekend? You want to go to the movies this weekend? She said, yeah. I was like, I bet. You know, so we did our first date. You know what I mean? Which went good. You know, you know, nah, I mean, I did my thing, you know what I'm saying? And she enjoyed it. She enjoyed the first date a lot. I think she fell in love after that first date for real. Because you know, after that, you know, we you know, started moving. We started dating and all that. And we, you know, it was dope. We had a dope relationship and all that. She was a rider too. That's one thing about this chick, man. She was a writer. And anytime I needed her for like business that I was handling, like if I needed a photo shoot, just needed some support, needed a model for a fashion show, she showed up every time. You know what I mean? She was very supportive. That's one thing I give her. You know? On top of that, she was very loyal and trustworthy. You know what I mean? Example, you know, we was about 3 months in talking and all that, you know, dating 3 months in. I didn't make her my girl. But we was like, you know, dating or whatever, you know. So she hits me up on the phone and she was like, yeah, I got a gig for a music video. I was like, oh, okay, you know, that's what's up. She was like, yeah, but the thing is, I'm playing the love interest in the video. I was like, oh. I was like, okay. And then she was like, out of respect, you know, I just wanted to call you out of respect to let you know. And then she was like, you know, it's not going to be nothing too crazy though. You know, I'm not going to be kissing him, not going to be in the bed with him. The most I might do is just hug him. You know, that's all I got to do is just hug him and just play the role of his girlfriend in the video. I was like, oh, it's just hug. I was like, all right, you know, go ahead, do your thing, get your bread. And she was like, all right. She was like, because if you don't want me to do it, I ain't going to do it. She literally said that. She said, if you don't want me to do it, I'm not going to do it. So I was like, nah, you good. Get that money, you know? And, I seen the video. And I ain't going to lie, I got a little jealous from the video. I ain't going to, I was like, hey, now, like, it's a little like, it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. Just like she said, it was hugging and stuff. It wasn't nothing too much, you know what I mean? But she did a good job on that video, man. It was very, convincing. That's why I got a little bit of jealous, you know what I mean? But like I said, she's good at what she do. She fast forward. Anyway, so boom. It's like I said, man, it's a long story, bro. It's a long story, man. But I'm gonna tell you one thing. I trusted this girl. She was loyal. Like, how do you have a baddie that you actually trust, bro? I never had to worry about her doing nothing. Another story, she was in the studio with some big rappers. If I say their name, y'all would know who they are. Famous rappers, at the studio, because she was on the music scene too. You know what I mean? She was well connected, more connected than I was. I was well connected and she was more connected than I was, you know what I mean? So she up in the studio, she calls me from the studio and she's like, yeah, I'm in the studio right now, and I just wanted to call and, just let you know, da 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 da. And the rappers, the big rappers, was trying to get at her, and she was telling me, and I could hear them in the background too. They was like, what you on the phone with your man or something? Da, 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 saying stuff like that. And then she was like, yeah, they making me uncomfortable. They tripping, da da da. She was like, I'm about to step in the hallway. So she stepped in the hallway and was talking to me and all that. And I was like, yeah, da 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 da. And then she was like, yeah, they keep on trying to talk to me. She was like, they making me real uncomfortable. She's like, matter of fact, I'm about to leave. So she goes into the studio, tells her girl, like, I'm ready to go home. Her girl didn't want to leave because her girl was starstruck and all that. She didn't want to leave. She wanted to stay. But she convinced her girl to take her home. And that's what happened. Her girl drove her home and she was on the phone with me for the rest of the night. You know? She done did mad stuff to show her loyalty, bro. Like even one time we went bowling and all that. Which she beat me in. That's crazy. I'm good at bowling. I'm nasty at bowling. And she beat me, bro. She could bowl too. Ain't that crazy? She bowled like a 2 something. She bowled like a 200 something. Crushed me, bro. She punished me in bowling. But anyway, we at the bowling alley. She not even dressed crazy. She just wearing jeans and a sweater. Like one of them crop top sweaters to where you can see a little bit of her stomach. You know what I mean? And her body was bodying though. So even with that modest outfit she had on, you could still see the figure. You could still see the yams and everything. You know what I mean? Like she wore it well. You know what I mean? And she looked good in the face too. You know what I mean? So we at the bowling alley and these dudes, they get the lane next to us. They on the lane next to us and all that. It's 3 dudes, like pretty boy dudes and all that, on the lane, and they seeing her, they drooling over, they going crazy, like, oh, look at her, da, da, da. They weren't even paying attention to me. They just all, then they were trying to get her attention and all that. And she, I'm sure she seen them, but she didn't pay them no attention. She literally just walked after bowling. She walked to me, sat on my lap, and started like rubbing my head and crap. Pretty much to show them, like, I'm here with him type thing. So, we had a lot going on, it was it was a dope relationship. One time we had this date that was dope. It was like a random date to where we didn't do nothing. We didn't spend no money. The only money I spent was money on gas money to get out there and to, it was like one of them random joints to where it was late at night I was in the city, DC, and I was like, yo, I'm in DC, I'm about to come scoop you. Da 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 da. Just came scoop her on the humbug, on the humble, you know what I mean? And everything was closed. It was like 3 o'clock at night, you know what I mean? So we drove, we pulled next to the river. You could see Crystal City in the background. We just sitting by the river, just talking, you know what I mean? And when we was talking, she just bust out of nowhere saying, I think you the one type thing. That's what she said. She was like, I think you the one. And I thought she was tripping. I was like, what? It's like, first of all, in my head, I'm thinking this. I was like, first of all, the man's supposed to be the one to say, you know, I'm the one or she's the one. Like, it's supposed to be the man to figure that out. I don't even know where I got that talking point from. Is that even in the Bible? I don't even know where I got that from, but I heard somebody say that. I heard somebody said it's always the man who is to see that the person is the one. So when she said it, I didn't pay too much attention to it. I thought she was tripping by saying it, you know? So, time progressed. I end up moving outside of Richmond, right? To where I wasn't seeing her like that once I moved, you know? And I was, out there, everywhere I go, I just get like a starting five. I get a starting five everywhere I move to, being single, you know how it is when you're single. So I had some baddies, I had some baddies in Richmond and all that, you know what I mean? But I was missing her. I ain't gonna lie, I was missing her. So I put a post on Facebook saying, I miss my model joint, just giving a hint out to her. Like I was like, I miss my little model because, she's a model, you know what I mean? And she hit my inbox because she knew I was talking about her. And then, not my inbox, she hit my phone because, by this time, of course, she got my number. So she hit my phone, and I was like, come, why don't you come out here for the weekend? And she was like, all right, bet. She came out for the weekend, took the bus out to where I was at. I picked her up from the bus stop, and the weekend started off good, man. It started off good. The first night was good until it was time to go to bed. I haven't seen her in a long time, so I'm trying to get it in. You feel me? Trying to get some. And she's like, no. She's like, no. Saying no. I'm like, no, what you talk about? No. She's like, nah, saying no. Yo, I was so heated, bro. I was so heated. And I know what a lot of y'all are thinking. A lot of y'all thinking, oh, she probably smashed somebody else. That's why she didn't give you none, because she probably was smashing somebody else. Nah, she's not like that, bro. She's not that type of woman to do that. If she's dealing with one person, that's the only person she's gonna deal with. Like, she's real big on loyalty, she's real big on integrity, all that. And she values her box, unlike most women. She actually values her box. She knows what her joint is worth. She knows what she is worth. And she don't move like that. You can even ask her. She would say, if I'm dealing with you, even if we just talking, you're the only person I'm dealing with. That's just how she moves. So, the next morning we wake up. I'm over it by the morning time, but I'm still a little heated though, But we all down there chilling. I had a roommate, which was one of my best friends and all that. I was like, yo, I'm gonna make everybody breakfast. Anybody who knows me knows that I make the best breakfast. I come from a breakfast family. My family taught me how to make breakfast, and I'm nasty with the breakfast. My breakfast is so good, I could literally start a breakfast restaurant or something. A breakfast something where I'm making breakfast and selling it. I'm seriously thinking about doing that because I made a banging sandwich the other day, and I was like, yo, I could sell this drink. And I could put all these restaurants out of business, these breakfast restaurants. But anyway, so boom. I was like, I'll make everybody an omelet. You know what I mean? So I go to make this omelet. He didn't have nothing but seasoning salt in there. So I was like, all right, let me just use this seasoning salt to season the eggs, to put the seasoning in the eggs. Seasoning salt, a little bit of pepper, you know what I mean? As I go to put the seasoning salt on it, the top falls off the seasoning salt, and all the seasoning salt fell into the eggs, man. A lot of seasoning salt fell into the eggs. Yo, I was mad, but it was the last eggs we had, and I didn't feel like going to the store to get no more. So I was like, you know what, man, I'm gonna just make this crap. I knew it was gonna be mad salty, but what can I do? So I still made the omelets for everybody. All right, we all eating the omelets. They mad salty, which we knew it was gonna be. My boy didn't say nothing because he's the type of person he's non-confrontational. So he knew they were salty too, but he didn't say nothing. The girl, like, these are the saltiest eggs I have. Like, that's what she literally said. She's like, these are the saltiest eggs I've had. Bro, I was already mad about last night. And when she said that, I was heated. I was like, I know the egg, know the freaking eggs is salty. Spilled the whole freaking season. She didn't know the seasoning salt spilled in it. But I told her, I was like, yo, the seasoning salt spilled in the joint. Like, she really ticked me off, bro. And then the rest of the weekend, man, she was just, everything she did just irked me, bro. So I was like, man, I'm taking you back to the bus stop. You going back home. So I dropped her off at the bus stop and all that. She ticked me off that much that weekend. I dropped her off at the bus stop and ghosted her. Didn't hit her up no more for a while. Straight ghosted her. You know what I mean? And, met my now ex-wife after, like a couple months after, met my now ex-wife. And the girl was still following me on social media. And next thing you know, she sees the engagement happen. I haven't spoke to her in months until she saw the picture of the engagement, and she was furious, bro. She hit me up. She's like, yeah, she was mad, bro. And I was like, it is what it is. And she did attempt to reach out and try to make things work again. Like, she tried to get back with me. Like, I say about a month or so later, she tried to get back with me. Like, let's try again type thing. Let's start all over and try again. And I ignored her attempt, But the reason why I told that story is because when I got with my now ex-wife, my ex-wife was literally like, it takes for you to be with someone who does the wrong things to realize that you had somebody that was doing all the right things, if that makes sense. When I was with her, I didn't appreciate none of the stuff that she was doing. Like, I didn't even notice it. It took for me to be with my ex-wife to realize what I had in her. Like, she literally was, you know what I mean? And I didn't realize until being with my ex-wife, until after it was over with me and my ex-wife, I didn't realize, like, yo, I literally had what I was looking for right there with that girl. I made a huge mistake. I picked the wrong one. You know what I mean? And we were still cool and all that. Like, when my ex-wife used to trip and get on my freaking nerves and, like, we almost would end it, I would always hit her up. Sometimes I hit her up like a couple of times when me and my ex-wife got into bad fights. I hit her up and vent to her. And she always had the right things to say, even when I used to vent to her. She'll say, always have the right things to say. You know what I mean? And she was just hitting it on the nail with what she was talking about. And I think one of the reasons why we get each other, me and the model chick, is because we're both from the DMV and we're both go-getters. We're both hustlers. You know what I mean? After I got married and all that, she continued to model and she actually blew up as a model. She became a big model, big time model. At the same time, she got a big she got a high a photography business too, for high for what's the word? For high profile people, high profile photography business she got, where she, shoots celebrities, rich people, all types of crap. She doing her thing and she did her thing. Talk about let success be your best revenge. She literally did that. After I ghosted her, I don't know what went on with her. I don't know how hurt she was and all that. She probably was real hurt and all that. I could imagine. I did her dirty and I didn't even realize it, man. I didn't realize I did her dirty because back then I was a different person. I was like ignorant and I didn't really realize what I had. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, of course I tried to spin the block with that. Of course I tried to spin the block. She still looked good too. After all these years, she still looked good. She's still a dime. You know? So the quality she had, the loyalty, you know what I mean? The trustworthiness. I trusted her. Never had to worry about her doing nothing. You know what I mean? That's rare these days. You know what I mean? And the supportiveness, the way she believed in me, all that. She knew I was going to blow up and all that. That's the way she was looking at me. She was like, yo, this dude is talented. He got the business mind. He a hustler. He a go-getter. Like she was right behind me. She wanted to build an empire with me. And that's what I wanted too. I wanted a shorty I could build an empire with. And didn't even realize I had it and ghosted her over just getting mad that one weekend. So yeah, I tried to spin the block on her. And I spoke to her after the divorce. We talked on the phone. And boy, did she let me have it. She let me have it, bro. She ripped me a new one. You know what I mean? And she went in. I think she's been holding that in for like years. Like, cause she, boy, dang. I ain't gonna say what she said about my ex-wife and all that, I ain't gonna say what she said, but she pretty much was saying like, you went from me to her type thing. Like, all right, I'm gonna just say it. She was like, you downgraded. That's what she said. She was like, you downgraded. I was like, dang. I was like, it's like that. And she was like, hey, it is what it is. You downgraded. I was like, dang. And with that being said, man, yeah, of course I spin the block. So people always say, they be like, nah, don't spin the block. Da, 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 da. Shoot, I tried to spin the block with that because at the time, man, I didn't realize what I had. You know what I mean? So yeah, of course I tried to spin the block, but guess what? She ain't having it. But the thing is, she keep making all these posts though. She keep shooting subs and all that. Like every day it's like 1, 2, maybe 3 subs towards me and all that. But she said she not, I asked her if we could, be friends, start off as friends and see where it goes type thing. I ain't trying to get back with her. I'm just, now she has the opportunity for us to, now I have the opportunity for me to, be back in her life type thing, even if it is as friends, you know what I mean? And she said, I'll think about it. That's what she's like, I'll think about it, da da da. And she keep throwing these subs like it's been like 3 weeks it's been like a couple months since the last time I spoke to her. And every day on Facebook, she's putting stuff like, oh, I told you ghosting me would come back to haunt you. And she said something yesterday. She's like, ninjas is always trying to spin the block and all that. She's like, the block is closed. Like, the block is closed. Oh, okay. That's how you feel? All right, say less. Say less. And guess what? I ain't gonna hit her up. When you say the block is closed, and you putting that sub on Facebook, I'm not chasing you. I ain't chasing you. I'll find somebody else. I ain't tripping. But I did try to spin the block though. And that's one of the cases where I would say I don't see nothing wrong with spinning the block. In that case right there. If you had something good and didn't realize that you had something good, and then you like, oh shoot, and try to, you know what I mean? But it's crazy. Like, all the good girls I had, man, I'll be the one to mess them up. You know what I mean? It's crazy. The good girls I did dirty, but then I get done dirty by the bad ones. I guess that's karma for you, right? The Bible says, what you sow, you will reap. You reap what you sow. And I feel like that happened because every good girl I did dirty, it always came back. It always came back on me. Like, I had a good girl in high school and all that. I had a good one in high school. Very pretty too. Like, I love pretty women. I'm very picky. So I'm always going to have a baddie, like a pretty face. Pretty face, good body. I'm very picky. You know what I mean? So in high school, I had a pretty girl and all that. She looked like Aaliyah. That's who she reminded me of. She reminded me of Aaliyah. You know what I mean? And she was a good girl. But I'm young and dumb, popular and all that, and she was a good one. And I just treated her like crap. Like, she done caught me cheating a couple of times. Like, more than once she caught me. And she took me back like at least 3 times of me messing up. Like, I'll mess up, she'll be upset, won't talk to me for a while. Then I make it up to her and then she take me back. That was like a cycle. It got so much of a cycle, I got used to that crap. Till finally she didn't take me back. And this was in high school, and we still talked even a little bit after high school, But she eventually met somebody and now she's married. So shout out to her and all that. I thought I was gonna marry her for real, because like, not only was she my girl, but we was friends. Like, we was friends before we even became a couple and all that. You know what I mean? And even after we broke up, we were still friends. Like, I spoke to her on the phone for hours every day, speak on the phone with her. You know what I mean? Even when I was in North Carolina with my brother for a little bit, I was on the phone with her every day. And I was telling her, I was like, yo, you gonna be my wife one day. That's what I told her, but it didn't end up working out like that. You know what I mean? She ended up marrying somebody else, which was cool. I was happy for her because the dude that she met is a good dude. So I was actually happy for her. You know what I mean? Like I said, this was like years ago. This was like high school and a little bit after high school. You know what I mean? And then I had another good one. Who was my other good one? I can't even think of my other good one. I had another good one. Yeah, out of all the girls I dealt with, man, it was like 2 or 3 good ones that I had, man. It was the one I just told y'all about, the high school, my high school girl, and I guess the model. Dang, two. I thought it was more than that. I thought I had more good girls than that. Yeah, I guess it was just two. Out of all the girls I dealt with, I only had two good ones. You know what I mean? You know? So, yeah, man. What y'all think about spinning the block? Would y'all spin the block or would y'all not spin the block? I don't know, man. I'm just talking. Anyway, please like, share, and subscribe. I see my short did good. Well, it did all right. To me that's good. Got like over 300 something views and all that. To me that's good for my little channel right now. But we little right now, but we coming, man. We gonna continue to grow, man. And I'm gonna continue to get better too. The production is gonna get better. I'm gonna get better at speaking. I'm gonna get more professional and all that. I'm gonna have better content for y'all. You know what I'm saying? I'm just getting started, man, but I'm coming. You heard? And just hit that subscribe button because I only got one subscriber out of over 300 people. Only one person subscribed, man. So y'all go ahead and hit that subscribe button, man, and please feel free to donate to the channel so we can get everything popping. So we get these lights, get these mics, get all that. You know what I mean? So with that being said, man, everyone have a good night.